It's, you know, that when I feel that energy move through me, it's the deepest part of who we are. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, when we get started here, we're all talking, there's this stuff on the surface, the waves, you know, of the ocean, kind of. And then when we get to the I am, the deepest part that you're singing, that's who we really are, you know? And if we could just get this, and when Judy and I talk about this all the time, because there's always so much, you know, going on, it seems like, and lots happening, we got to do this, even in spiritual community, right? There's planning and all this, and you're in your head. And when you get to what Terry was singing, when you drop to the I am, you know, you are who you really are. This is that deep God self, you know, the energy of something so powerful. And if we can, you know, be in that place of harmony, that's what it is. It's harmony. That's your covenant word, isn't it?
Yes.
But, and if we can really be there, that's when we're the instrument for the divine. You know what I'm saying? When we take that I am and we're connected, because that's what it is. It's connecting, and then we do. Right? Does that make sense? So you take your I am, you have to be to do. You get it? You be, do? Does that make sense? Okay, because it's got to make sense, because that's what I'm saying. You could go out and do right now, and we can run up here, and we're not centered, and we're not with the I am, and we're just doing. We're having a talk. You know, it's different than when you're centered and when you feel the Spirit move you. The breath of God moves through you. What you say is different, what you do is different, and how you be is different. So I'm going to start with, because today the title is Being an Instrument, right? And I love this because we're all instruments for God, instruments for the divine in everything that we do. But we don't do it very well unless we're in harmony, right? Unless we are connected. So one of my favorite pieces of poetry is Make Me an Instrument. It's St. Francis. You know what I'm talking about? There's a song by it. I love it. I absolutely love it. And gosh, I'm going to read it because it's like I would love to live this, and I want to live this, and I try to live this. And I remember a time, and I know that you guys will, this has probably happened in your life, but when I felt so empty, and it was like I had this life that was great on the surface. You know, it was, you know, we lived in a great home in Mission Viejo, and I had a great husband, I had kids, I was full, right, really full. But I remember, I wasn't working at the time, but I was playing bunco, and I was doing, you know, drinking wine and playing bunco and having, you know, fun, you know, on the surface. But when I got home one night, and I've told this story before, I got home and I sat on my lawn, and I'm going, is this all there is? You know, is this really, you know, there's so much more to life, and it's going quickly, that I want to serve. You know, it's like there's something inside of each of us that needs to do something else than just fill your own needs. Does that make sense? You know? So, and that's kind of where my whole spiritual journey started with, you know, going to my first church, actually, you know, and it's interesting how everything's kind of shifted from there. So let me read this, and then we can kind of, you know, then you can talk. Okay. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is a wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is discord, I may bring harmony, that where there is error, I may bring truth, that where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is despair, I may bring hope, that where there are shadows, I may bring light, that where there is sadness, I may bring joy. Lord, grant that I may seek rather to comfort than to be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds, it is by forgiving that one is forgiven, and it is by dying that one awakens to eternal life. Isn't that beautiful? Mm-hmm. It's like, you know, I mean, to live that, to be able to have your life, being able to bring love, to bring joy to everybody else, you know. But to do that, we've got to have it here first. And that's kind of what we want to talk about.
That's right. So this idea of being an instrument, it's not just for one person. It's not just for special people like Mother Teresa or Mahatma Gandhi, yeah, or Martin Luther King or any other person that has made great, great impact on our planet. It's for each and every one of us. And really, what it's about is claiming your power. You know, sometimes we go through life and we feel like we're powerless, like who we are doesn't really make a difference. Do you ever feel like that? Like you're just kind of insignificant, like you're just getting through your little tiny life and it doesn't matter? Well, I want to tell you something. Who you are and how you are makes a huge difference. And every single one of you is as special and as important and as powerful, like Pinochet says, as any person who has ever walked on this planet. And that's the truth. And the reason for that is because not any one of us is given any more God stuff or divinity or spirit than the next. We are all equal and we're all one. So every single one of us has the power and the capacity to create love, to create life, to create beauty, to create whatever our life experience brings to us. And the thing is, we all have a unique journey. It's different. I wish that the video would have worked this morning because it's such a beautiful example of the breath, as Hafiz calls it, the Christ's breath. Remember, he's a Sufi. So he's not talking about Jesus. He's talking about the breath of that, the divinity blowing through us, making our unique music. And the music that the pan flute makes is extraordinary. But just the very breath, our breath, creates this incredible beauty. And sometimes we don't claim our power. Have you always claimed your power? Probably not. Have I? No, I know I haven't. But this is the invitation. The invitation is to set an intention to remember the truth and then to claim that power and then act, do, be the channel of that, be the instrument of that with an intention, and let the divine flow through everything that you say, everything you do, everything you think. And through that, whatever your unique calling is, that will outpicture in a beautiful way, in a significant way. And who we are and how we are makes a difference in our day-to-day field of energy, whoever we're affecting in that moment.
You know, it's so easy to say that, and I think that it's so hard, you know, to feel it, because I think you got to feel it, and you know, you to be able to touch others, you know, you can't fake it, right? You can't. I mean, you have to. It's a practice, and it's something that, especially, you know, if you know you're touching other people, you've got to walk the talk, you know. So I guess I know that I have to be in harmony, and I like that word a lot. I think that's what he uses. He says that we all have that immeasurable power, but it's not given to us until we come into harmony with ourselves. See, we can't just go out to do, we can, see, I look at Mike, you're a good example of somebody that goes out and, you know, you do things, and you do the best when you know who you are, when you claim your immeasurable power, when you know the truth of who you are. You're serving others because it's not of the ego. We can run out, you know, right, and say, oh, we're serving everybody, we're doing this, you know, we're doing all these great things. But that's not what it's about. It's about knowing who you are, and even knowing who you are, if you smile at somebody, that's your purpose, right? Because it's God smiling at you. You're seeing God in everybody.
The thing is, if we're really in harmony, I'd like to say in alignment with the energy of our divine self, this is the deal. When we show up, we're open to guidance. We allow life to move through us. We don't try to push and shove it in any direction. Sometimes, and this is certainly the case for me, is life doesn't go in the direction I want it to go into. Yes? It's not going my way. And so what I have to do is be open so that within that, whatever that thing is showing up in the moment, that I can be an instrument of love and peace and kindness and whatever other qualities I can bring forth in the moment within that experience. And the thing is, when I do that, I can't have an agenda. Sometimes it's very hard to be an instrument of the divine without an agenda. It can't be all about, you know, what I want. And it can't be all about collecting merit, right? About attaining accolades or about having everybody say, oh, wow, look what she did. It can't be about that. It's not about that at all. No gaining merits, as the Buddhists would say. It's about being that energy of the divine from a soul place, from an integrity place, from an authentic place that doesn't have to be recognized, that does not have to be applauded, although we all deserve a standing ovation simply for making it through the day the best that we can. Do you know what? That's the truth. That's the truth. We all deserve a standing ovation, but we don't have to have it, and we don't need it, and it cannot be a condition for how we show up in the world as an instrument of the energy of the divine.
You know, I remember when I was telling you when I've been lost in my life, you know, and now I'm found. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, when you know you're like, and I would just remember like probably at my completely worst moment, and it was the best moment because I just went, oh my God, and I broke down and I cried and just went, show me God, show me God, you know, what is there? Because this was when a lot was happening too in my life. And it's like when we open like that, when we can just open, I think the answers come. So if you're going through stuff in your life and we're trying to, I was a head person trying to figure out everything, thinking, you know, if I do spiritual practice, if I do this, you know, it's all gonna, work out, but the truth is that sometimes you have to empty to be filled, you know, and that's the crying, the letting it go, the surrender. We talk about surrender, you know, a lot, and it's just about, surrendering to it, and then letting this Christ breath move through you, and that's being used, and I think that's what our thing with covenant is today too, is about that. It's about being used by God, you know, for whatever in your life.
You know, part of this is that I think we would be Pollyanna-ish to think that everything's going to just be wonderful and that everything lines up and it's just going to be fabulous and beautiful and go the way we want it to go in all our plans, right? And so this idea of opening to grace, opening to guidance, to support whatever shows up, when we actually are in the doing or being that instrument, guess what? When we're open to guidance, it shows up with a different quality of being. When we're not trying to force our agenda, or we're not having it, has to be my way, when we're actually accepting the isness of the experience, and within that, going forward to be the instrument within that experience. This is the idea that we, somewhere within us, and even in these very difficult situations that we find ourselves in, where we're saying, help me God, show me God, within that there is this, the poet, imprisoned splendor within each and every one of us that is waiting to come forth so that it can be, breathed into our experience and inform us as we are becoming that channel for the divine in whatever that experience is, however it's showing up. And you know what I know is that if we are very aligned and we are being an instrument for God, guess what? We're not just being an instrument for the divine for ourselves. We're being an instrument for the divine, or as an instrument of the divine, for everyone's benefit. This is the work of the Bodhisattva. This is the work of the Bodhisattva. And I can remember we were having a course, a continuation of a class that we did with a certain group of individuals many years ago. And the next stage in our work was to enter the Bodhisattva path. And one person who really was very thoughtful and considered the invitation to enter the path of the Bodhisattva, said, this is not for me. I got enough to work on for myself. I don't think I can do this for the benefit of all people. But if you take the Bodhisattva vow, so that you know that you're that Jesus presence that says, if I'm lifted up, everybody else is going to be lifted up. If I get myself in order, if I get myself in harmony, if I get myself in alignment with the divine, then everything around me will shift.
See, I think that's where people get kind of confused, because the truth is that when we're saying out there serving everybody else, we're talking about serving God within you, because you're right, you know, it reflects out on everybody else. We're connected. We're so connected. And that's the deal, you know, is because, you know, when you are in alignment yourself, you know, you touch other people, and that's how we do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So if you were going to look at one of those ways that you've been an instrument, what would that be?
The instrument of
the divine.
Well, I guess, you know, what I have to say probably is when I'm really present, you know, when I'm not present, you know, I'm not an instrument, you know. When I'm really present, I feel like the way that I can inspire. I know that's one of my gifts, is that, you know, I can be an inspiration when I'm in touch and I'm real present with what I'm doing. And it can be with my babies, it can be with, you know, people here, it can be with you. And what I know is that if I'm not connected, you know, and I'm not prayed up, like we talk about being prayed up, and if I've had some stuff going on, I'm not, you know, and I can't do it. How about you? You know?
I think one of the ways that I'm an instrument for the divine is in creating beauty.
Yeah.
Creating beauty. You know, harmony, a different kind of harmony maybe, but seeing the physical world and then arranging the physical world in a way that is, the outpicturing is beautiful and harmonious and flowing and resonant and works together. I think that being an instrument for the divine shows up in tremendous numbers of ways. Robert, I like the meditation music that you played today. Some of you may not have recognized the actual music if you're not familiar with it, but the music that Robert played was St. Francis, the prayer of St. Francis. And that music itself was so touching, Robert, that the music, the art, the cooking, the creating, the nurturing, all of that is being an instrument of the divine. It does not have to look any particular way. Every way that you show up, every way that your beingness shows up is an instrument of the divine. That's what it's about. There's no set way that it has to look. So when you're with your family and you're being supportive, or you're listening, our in-reach team, compassionate listening, all of that is about being an instrument for the divine.
Well, and even like I'm thinking of our forgiveness group, you know, I mean, there's so many ways. That's why I love groups, you know, I love Common Ground, and I love our little classes and things like that we can go and connect and be inspired to leave here and then touch other people, whether it's a teller at the bank or it's the grocery clerk, you know, because that's how we change the world, you know, is by being prayed up, so to speak. And prayed up, I mean just connected to something bigger. You know, there's our humanity and our divinity, and sometimes we forget that we're divine, you know. But the truth is that we're all of it. And when we open our heart and we live in our heart, because that's what we're kind of talking about, is living in our heart, you know, being in our heart, in a heart space, and doing from the heart. And it makes all the difference in the world, and how you feel and how you touch other people. You know?
And that's about expressing our divinity, but I have to just be very authentic and say that when we are in our humanity and when we're bumping up against stuff in the, you know, everyday world that doesn't feel good, when our bank accounts are a disaster, when you know, our health is fragile, when our relationships are in jeopardy, when there are difficult circumstances that are all around us, it's really a challenge to remember to express our divinity so that we can actually be that instrument. And I just have to be authentic. When you were reading the prayer of St. Francis, and let me see it real quick. There was one line there, and I went, what? Oops, redo. Let me see. Well, whatever it was, you know, a human condition, right? Who doesn't have a human condition going on right now where there's some discord? And I'm thinking, you know what? I haven't done that very well lately. This thing has been so big, whatever this thing is that I'm talking about, has been so big that it's hard to stay balanced and centered and in alignment with the truth of who I am and in my own divinity, so that I don't get knocked off guard and say, you know what? I just hate that person.
Okay, so
I hate that person.
Let's get authentic here. And
well, it's none of you, by the way.
No, I kind of think it's important, you know, that's why we want to do this, because it's hard to talk about our lives and stuff sometimes, you know, and I think that we've done a pretty good job of telling everybody what goes on in our lives. But you're going through a lot right now, and I know, you know, I know you, and I don't want to make you cry or anything, but because you've been...
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I won't do that. But what I'm saying is that you are, and through this process that you're going through at your house, don't cry, I'm sorry. You have brought such grace and love and harmony through everything that you've done, you know, and how? I mean, what are you praying up every morning? Are you spending, okay, no, then that, you know, you like tell, like,
well, yeah, I have to be real authentic.
I want to be you when I grow up, so everything that, you know, you have gone through and are going through right now, then I want to see how you stay so in alignment.
Well, I think that...
Or maybe you're showing you're in alignment. I don't know. Maybe right now you're off alignment. I don't know.
Actually, I'm not, because when I would be out of alignment is if I didn't recognize that part of myself.
That's right.
That feels this way. And I know, I truly believe that if we're not in touch with all the parts of ourselves that show up, our feelings and all that, we're not authentic. We're not being our best human if we're going, oh, not that, oh, not that, I can't go there, oh my God, I'm a minister, how could I be saying I hate you? Well, not actually, but just
feeling, you feel it.
Feel it, that's in here, in my head, yeah. You know, when people hurt people that we care about, that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel good. So I think it's about being authentic. It's about recognizing how we feel. It's about owning it. Gotta own it. Gotta own it. And then be with it and let it flow through so that you go, okay, okay. And then it gets quiet. Everything calms down. And then the next attorney thing happens and it goes, I hate him. I hate him. And then we do it over. We just go over and over and over. And hopefully with practice it gets easier. Lately it's been getting easier. It's like, okay, that too. All right.
I know how to do this.
I know how to do this. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Yep, we hate him. All right, now let's move through this. You know? And hopefully there will come a point of time in this process where the I hate him doesn't work anymore and it's not necessary. Do you understand what I'm saying? But we do this with our bodies, don't we? If we've got a lot of pain, if we've got a lot of trouble financially, and it's always on our mind, I hate this situation, I don't like this situation, I wish this situation weren't happening. Don't we do that? Yeah. I know that I'm a person who suffers from migraine headaches, and I'll tell you what, when that happens to me, I don't like it. And I recognize it, and for that moment in time, I don't like it. And it's hard to be an instrument of the divine and to express my divinity when I'm in great pain. Any kind of pain. Emotional pain, physical pain, relationship pain, whatever it is. It's hard.
See, now that to me, that's how you were an instrument right now. When you are able to share from your heart that this emotion is here and how you work through it. Because in here he talks about these emotions, and everybody goes through them at some time in our life. You know, it's energy and motion. That's what it is. It's an emotion, and you've got to move them through. Just like you said, you can't say, okay, I'm a minister, I'm up here, and I have to put on this face and smile to everybody. You know, you got to be authentic. If it comes, you got to let it come. You got to let it move through you. Our job is to stay clear, right? To stay clear is to bring it on. Let the emotions move through you so that you are this I amness, you know? And so that, you were an instrument. Somebody here today will take that away, you know, from what you said. And it's okay, you know, it's okay to cry. It's okay to say, you know, my life sucks right now because, you know, it maybe won't tomorrow or in a few minutes, right? Everything changes. Just, I think the whole lesson here, you know, with this whole, I love this book, this Soul Signature. Mm-hmm. The whole lesson is that, you know, if we want to live a life of purpose and passion and joy, you know, it's to bring it on. Let life move through you. You know, whatever you experience is okay. You're supposed to. And let it transform you. Let it, we said something about, you know, let it burn you if it has to. That's what life does. It burns us. And then we transform and we become instruments for the divine. We become clear. We become, you know, filled with a passion for life. And that's what it's about.
You know, Glenda, one of the things that I recognize in myself, and in this situation in particular, but really I think it's true in all of our lives, is if we can get to the place where we can see the humor in it and laugh a little bit about it, and the divine comedy, you know, just the whole catastrophe, right? And just embrace it and find those places that are just so absurd that they tickle our funny bone, and we get out of that deep, dark place so that we can actually see sort of the flip side of the experience. And I got news for you, no matter how icky things are, there's always something, some hilarious divine play that is ready there to go. You're just like, really? Really, that? Are you kidding me? Right now in this mess? That's happening? So there are ways to be totally, you got to be aware. You got to be aware, you got to be present, you got to be awake within the experience, and just real connected, and remember who you are. That's it. You got to constantly remember who you are.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? I'll close with this quote. I love this, what he says in here. He says, if we are able to listen more deeply within, that will create a greater resonance between our inner and our outer life. The expression in our outer life is a reflection of the inner. We become instruments of the divine. And your body is the harp of your soul. And it is yours to bring forth sweet music or confused sounds. What are you bringing forth? Sweet music? I think you guys are all bringing forth sweet music, not confused sounds. Thank you.